Success Series. We are today going to bring you the second part of our spring series, which was to make sure what you do beyond your resume. In the first part of our winter series, we basically went over all the basics, all of the stuff that we all need to have, our LinkedIn profile, our resume, interviewing skills, and networking skills up to par, if not surpassing them. For the spring, we are bringing you everything else that will make you stand out and make sure that you get the career and go over the things that you want in your career. Today, we are focusing on synchronizing your social networks, and we have brought to you another infamous FOJ, Danielle Little, who's really known as the Cubicle Chick. You can find her at thecubiclechick.com. Although that's how most of us know her, she's known first as a mom, and then she does a lot of work in work-life management, professional careerist. She is been traveling a lot and will be leaving us today right at the end to make it out to Laguna Niguel to do a presentation there. She leads us from St. Louis, and she's been involved with the St. Louis Urban League out there, and will bring us today. Make sure that you understand what it takes to synchronize all of your social networks, and are you on the right ones, and are you using them properly to really create the brand that you want to be and the brand that's going to get you where you want to be in your life. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Danielle Little, aka the Cubicle Chick. How are you, Danielle? Thank you for joining us.
I'm well. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Jody. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome, and I'm looking forward to your presentation today, I think more than everyone else. There's always some tidbits that you have that make me sharpen up my skills.
Absolutely. So as Jody said in her wonderful introduction, my name is Danielle Little from thecubiclechick.com, and my website and my blog and my brand really surrounds helping people get the best out of both their personal and their professional lives in a positive way. I have been professionally blogging and social media consulting since 2010, and I've been able to brand myself utilizing social media. Previous to me being a professional blogger, I worked in HR manager and in the HR realm for over 10 years. So I have experience on the other end picking candidates and interviewing them and running a team. So I can give you two perspectives. I can give you the perspective of how your brand should be and how you can resonate with people, and then I can also give you the perspective of what hiring managers are looking for, especially with social media. Social media is a wonderful tool that you can utilize in order to reach more people, and I'm going to give you some tips and tools on how to synchronize your social networks for professional success. So what's ahead for this webinar? You're going to learn the importance of your social media profiles. They are not just for you to, check out the gossip and talk about the latest sports game. It's also to build a professional presence. And so it's very important that you have a very polished and professional social media profile if you're looking for work or if you're looking to gain traction in your career field. The second thing we're going to talk about, or the other thing you can look for in the webinar, is putting your best foot forward on your social media. Because social media is being used by a plethora of people, by a lot of people, all in different ways. You know, when you are looking for a professional job, you want to make sure that you put your best foot forward. So I'm going to give you some suggestions about how to do that with your profile. The third thing we're going to talk about is showcasing for success, utilizing your social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc., to showcase your portfolio and the things that you've done to garner attention. And then we're going to talk about managing and privatization of your social media profile. So this is the first thing that I want you to understand. And you may already know this, so if it's redundant to you, I apologize. But you'd be surprised at how many people do not know. Hiring managers check your profiles before the interview. And so when you submit your resume, and a lot of times if it's a professional type of job. They may call you first for a phone interview, and then they'll call you in to come in for the face-to-face interview. Hiring managers always check your profile before the interview. They're going to Google you. They're going to see what comes up. They're going to look at whatever pages that you have available to look at. And so you need to be aware of that when you are sharing certain things on social media. You also need to be aware that clients and colleagues are also looking at your social media profile. Myself, I'm a consultant. I work for myself, and I consult people on social media best practices, branding, things of that nature. So colleagues and clients, not just your job, but people that you work with, they are also going to be checking your social profiles as well. And then clubs and networks, you know, if you belong to an organization or you're joining a club within your niche, people are also looking at your social profiles as well. So these are things that you should be aware of, just say no to. And this is a rule of thumb pretty much on every social media platform out there that you're using. You are going to just say no to posting questionable content photos. So whether that is photos of yourself or sharing other people's photos, or, you know, even if it's an article. You know, a lot of times we share articles from other sites on our social platforms, but whatever picture is the main picture or the featured picture goes along usually with that article. So you have to be careful that you're not posting anything that's questionable, even though the article may be okay. The picture that coincides with the article may be considered, you know, a little risque. So make sure that you are aware of what you're sharing and how that's looking to people who are looking at your profile. I also tell people to make sure that they approve their tags. This is especially important on Facebook, but also now that Twitter allows other people to tag you in photos, it's also important on Twitter. Any photos that people post of me, I have to approve that tag in order for it to be seen in public. And it's not because I have anything to hide. It's because for some reason people tag me in the most horrible photos. I don't know if you can relate, with my mouth open or my eyes closed, which is crazy. So I didn't like that. So I was like, I want to be able to approve what people see because, of course, this is my image and this is my brand. I would suggest that everybody go into their Facebook profile settings and put it to approve tags, just in case you're at a party or you're out somewhere and someone tags you in a photo that you may not want everybody to see. That way, if you approve your tags, and and if you don't approve that, then people are not going to see that on their feed. However, people still may see that on the person who posted its feed. So there's really no way for Facebook for you to be able to, for everybody not to see that picture, but you can approve tags for people on your feed and on your page not to see that particular picture. I also tell people to make lists. This is another practice specifically for Facebook. Facebook will allow you to create specific lists, and then when you post a photo or you post a status update, you can use the drop-down menu and determine who on your list sees that. So, for instance, most people is set on public unless you change that. So you can have a public, that means everybody sees it. Then you could have just my friends, meaning only people, your close friends see it, just my family, only your family sees it. So I tell people to just say no to letting everybody see everything that you post and make specific lists that you want of who you want people to see, particular post and status updates. From a hiring manager standpoint, I would not hire anyone with raunchy photos or poor grammar or risky content. Raunchy photos, we all kind of know. I don't have to really explain that. Poor grammar is being looked at too in your social media. Are you misspelling a bunch of words? That could be a problem if someone is to hire you and you're not a good speller. So if there's poor grammar, poor use of language, risky content, if they're sharing things from websites that can be considered questionable, be considered racist, be considered inhumane, I'm not going to hire that person. That's something that I used to look for. Unprofessional username. So on Facebook, they really kind of tried to get away with people using, questionable names. They want you to use your first and last name. On Twitter, you can pretty much use anything. I would suggest don't use Miss Drop It Like It's Hot, or something like that if you're looking for a job, because people can't really take you seriously if you have a username that is questionable. So try to stick with a professional sounding username. If you don't have any social profiles, if I go to look for you on Twitter or Facebook or just Google you and nothing comes up as far as your social media profile, that lets me know that you're hiding something. And so I would tend not to hire you either. I need to be able to see something public, something that you have done, a profile that is public, that can lead me to know more about you professionally. I don't really want to know about you personally, but, professionally. So if you don't have any profiles, I know a lot of people, I've been to conferences where the speaker will say, well, make your profile private. That's a problem if you make all of your profiles private, because then it looks like you have something to hide. So I would not privatize your profile per se, but I would privatize certain things on your profile. Like I said, the tag part, only sharing things with specific groups of friends. You can still have your profile public by privatizing some of information on your profile. And then this is specifically for LinkedIn. If you don't have any recommendations ever, and you're not a straight out of college student, and even then still you should have some recommendations on LinkedIn, I probably wouldn't hire you either. So if you are on LinkedIn right now and you don't have anyone who's written any words of recommendation for you, I would suggest that you go into your inbox and you email a few people that you know that you worked for or that you've worked with that can speak well about your work ethic, and have them write a recommendation, because that does reflect poorly on you if you don't have any recommendations. So here's some profile tips to help you spruce up that social media profile and make it all bright and shiny and professional looking. You want to start with a good headshot. It doesn't have to be a professionally taken headshot, by a photographer that you've hired, but it does need to be a profile that's showing that people can recognize you, that's showing your face, and that is lit well, that you, and you're dressed towards your brand. So if you are a fashion blogger, your headshot should, appeal to your brand. If you are a PR consultant, then what you're wearing in the photo should reflect your brand as well. So it should have a nice, crisp, and clear headshot. And I would say you should update your headshots quarterly. I personally change my hair a lot, so I may update mine a little bit more just because I want people to be able to recognize me. So as I change my hair, I change my profile. But having, a up-to-date profile, usually every quarter, if you change it every quarter, that'll pretty much keep you up to date so people can recognize you that way. Also, a well-written bio. People sleep so much on their bios. They'll just throw up something. I'm this, I'm that, I've worked in this for 5 years, and I'm looking for a job, or something like that. Really work on a well-written bio. It should tell who you are, what you do, where you're going or where you look to go, how you're looking to get there. It should answer a lot of questions with your bio. And it doesn't necessarily have to be pages long. You can hire somebody to help you write a bio, or you can write it yourself. I would say to get it edited to make sure that it's grammatically correct and it doesn't have any spelling errors, but a well-written bio goes a long way. Also, in your profile, you should have photos showing you in your role of expertise. So now on Facebook, you have your profile picture, which can also be a video now if you wanted to record a short video, but you have your profile photo, and then you have like 4 other photos that you can use in your theme, for your profile, that tell, about who you are. So if you're a speaker, if you've spoken at events, you can place a photo of that. If you're an author and you've written a book, you can place a photo of that. You should have photos showing you in your role of expertise so people can also get a visual feel of who you are, even if they don't read your bio. And then I do try to tell people to try to use the same profile photo on all of your social networks. This really is for the person who's looking for a job or looking maybe to advance in their career. I would suggest that you use the same profile photo on all of your social media platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of those. But you don't have to, but it just helps when you're looking for work, I think, if you're uniform across the board. So there are some profile tips. Now, earlier I told you who I wouldn't hire. Now I'm going to tell you who I would hire as a former hiring manager. I would hire somebody with a sleek, clean profile with professional photos. And when I mean sleek and clean, I mean, and I'm talking more on LinkedIn and maybe even Facebook, not a bunch of gobbledygook, right to the business that shows a really clear, concise message about who they are. I would hire somebody with a professional username. You know, Miss Drop It Like It's Hot wouldn't get a call from me, but if her name was like Tracy Smith, then she would get a call from me. And then a profile which I see activity. I just want to see, you know, that something on your pages. I don't have to see everything, which is why I said for Facebook, you know, you can use lists in order to determine who sees what. But, you know, I would hire someone who I saw activity, positive activity on their pages. So here are some HR go-tos. Here are the pages, the social media sites that HR visits first. The first place that we visit is your Facebook and LinkedIn. Those are tied. We go to your Facebook page. Obviously, when you Google people, most of the time their Facebook profile is probably the first thing that comes up. So we go to your Facebook and your LinkedIn first. Then we go to Twitter. Then we usually do a Google search. We also go to YouTube. YouTube is the second most used social network, search engine in the world. So we also go to YouTube and see, like, you know, have you done any appearances? Have you been on TV? Has somebody else had you on their program? Like, we go on YouTube. And then Instagram. And then everything else, like Google+, Pinterest, those are after that, but those aren't the most important. So I would say when you're tackling your social media profiles, you should attack them in this order. So Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google search, YouTube, and Instagram. So here are some best practices on for your social media profiles and synchronizing your social network. Update your profile regularly. I do it monthly. I go into all of my profiles monthly, and I update them with, you know, things that I've done. Like it says here, showcase new projects. I'll put up, you know, okay, I have a new book out, or I have a new video series out, or I have a new e-course available. So, you know, you want to make sure that you're updating your profile regularly. I tell people to remember, put it in your phone. You always have your smartphone available. So put a reminder in your phone, okay, hey, it's time for me to update my Facebook. It's time for me to update my Twitter, or whatever the case may be. Showcase your new projects. Make sure that people on social media know what you're doing. A lot of times we assume that people know what we're doing, but they necessarily don't. And especially on Facebook, where you don't get to see all the activity of a person unless you actually go to their Facebook page, people, you know, they just may not be aware of what it is that you're doing. So make sure that you showcase your new projects. Pick a day of the week. Okay, on Monday I'm going to talk about the book that came out, you know, a couple of months ago. And then on Tuesday, I'm going to focus on my speaking and my upcoming projects. And on Wednesday, like, you know, kind of create a calendar that works for you, that you can showcase your new projects. And this is something big, and I'm going to tell you this is something that I'm sleeping on, so I'm not just saying this for you. I'm saying this for me. You need to utilize video. Video is huge. Video is where people are not necessarily reading content. They want to watch content. So when you have video, it makes you more appealing to the hiring manager. It makes you more appealing to people who are buying into your brand. They can see your expressions. They can hear your voice. It's just a wonderful way to land a gig. You know, if there are a group of people vying for the same position, but you have a video that showcases some expertise in that area, and the other people don't have a video, then you're going to maybe be put, you know, on the top of the pack because you have video and they don't. So utilizing video is, you know, is the best, is one of the best things that you can do. Before I started the Cubicle Chick, like I said, if you missed the earlier part of this webinar, I was working as an HR manager, and there was I was working in the leasing residential rental community, and there was a young man that came in, and he wanted to be a leasing agent, but he had no experience whatsoever. So when I hired him, or when I was interviewing him to be hired, you know, I was asking him questions, and he was telling me about all the sales experience he had, which, yes, sales is very important in leasing. But he was telling me about all the sales experience, but he just didn't have any leasing experience. And the reason why I called him in, because I knew that from his resume, is because he had a video that he attached to his resume online when he sent it through monster.com. And the video was just so compelling, and he just seemed like such a go-getter, and like he could just schmooze anybody, that I had to see him in person. Like, I had to see if he was real. I had to see if he really had, you know, that vibe in person, and he did. And I ended up hiring him, and he worked first just as a leasing agent, and then he was promoted to assistant leasing manager, and now he's a property manager over like 4 properties, and we still speak to this day. So that's an example of how you can utilize video. Even if you don't necessarily have experience in that field, but you have passion for it, that passion can be shown in the video and can really help you land the job. Here's some more best practices. Privatize some of your Facebook page. We talked about this before earlier in the webinar, that you can go in and you can monitor who sees what specific post that you post. And so don't make your whole Facebook page private, but you can privatize some of your Facebook page. You can also, again, use your Facebook page to show, in all of your pages, LinkedIn, to showcase new projects. You can utilize video intros. You can do that on LinkedIn as well. You can utilize a Facebook intro, and you can complete your profile. I know, and by a show of hands, I can't really see you, but you can chime in the chat section. How many of you are like on LinkedIn and it's telling you that you are only so much percentage done with your profile, and it's been like that forever? You're only 70%, you're only 75%, you're only 90%. Like, finish updating and completing your profile, because that can make a world of difference when you are looking for a position and you're looking to be a success in your profession. Finish the profile all the way through, complete it, don't leave any parts blank. Even if you just fill it in temporarily with something and then you come back and edit it, or you come back and make it better later, make sure that all of your profiles across social media are complete. I do have a question about, actually, I'll answer that later. I'll wait to the end to answer that. Select an hour each month to update your profiles. I talked about that, doing that earlier as well. Take an hour out of each month to update your profile, update your profile photo, update any current things that you're doing. Remove tags and other questionable content. So all those photos that you have been tagged on before you remove the tags, go ahead and remove all those tags now. So when people come to your page, they're not shocked. And then share relevant info. Make sure that you're sharing information that's relevant to your career or niche that you're talking about. So if you are a PR professional, on your Facebook, on your Twitter, on your LinkedIn, share relevant information that is helpful to the PR community. This is going to show you as a thought leader in your field. This is going to show you as a sharer. This is going to show you as somebody who is staying on top of the best practices in your field. So, you know, share relevant info. And then also go the extra mile. So there are other things that you can do to make yourself highly visible and brand yourself on the World Wide Web. You can use about.me. I don't know how many of you guys have heard about about.me, but it's pretty much like a resume, a visual resume, an online resume that you can create to showcase who you are, what your brand is, what you're about. And these pages can be really personalized and look wonderful. I have seen some awesome About Me pages that have made me be like, hey, if I was in this field, I would want to hire this person. So go the extra mile, go above Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and go to about.me. If you haven't heard that, go over there. I think there's a free trial. I think it's free, but there's some paid portions of it, kind of like LinkedIn. So go over to about.me and check that out and create your profile over there, and then you can use that as your professional portfolio. You can also use a professional website portfolio or resume. This is something that I did when I was looking for work back in the day. I had DanielleLittle.com, which is now my portfolio site for my business. But back then, it housed my resume. It was like an online resume, and I could tell people to go to DanielleLittle.com, and they could get an update on what it was I was up to. So having a professional website, portfolio, or resume goes a long way. That's going above and beyond, going the extra mile. And then also have a podcast. And a podcast is wonderful because anybody can do it. Like when we think of podcasts, we think of all these famous people, you know, making these podcasts. But anybody can do a podcast. You can do a podcast. I recently started a podcast back in January called the Work It Podcast, and I talk about professional and entrepreneurial things that relate to work-life management. And it has actually been more successful than I thought. And it's actually for people who can't read my site while they're at work or doing other things, they can listen. They can listen to me on their commute. They can listen to me while they're at work maybe or on their break. So it just gives another avenue of a way for me to get my content out there. So as a podcaster, you can become, again, that thought leader, that professional in your field who's sharing best practices, tips, and tools in your genre. So going the extra mile about creating a podcast is a wonderful way to get your name out there. It costs practically nothing to do the podcast. You can use a service called SoundCloud for free that will allow you to upload your audio file to them, and then you can simulcast it or you can syndicate it to iTunes, Stitcher, and all the other plethora of podcasting channels. So think about that when you are trying to kind of leverage your expertise creating a podcast and serving that to your listeners, because that could really be a service to people. So these are things I want you to keep in mind. Don't share anything online that could be harmful. And if you have to question if it's harmful or not, then you probably shouldn't post it. You never know who's watching your profile. For as many people who are liking and sharing and leaving comments on your content online, there are 3 times that much that's just lurking in the shadows and you don't even know. So make sure that you keep that in mind when you're updating your social media profile. And then keep it simple. I know I've overwhelmed you perhaps with all the information on this webinar, but you can just keep it simple by just sharing tips, tools, best practices, and articles from other thought leaders in your genre, and just updating your profile. It's just simple as that. So just keep it simple. And I hope you guys have enjoyed my webinar today. Let's continue the conversation. You can follow me on Twitter at The Cubicle Chick, and all my other platforms on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook are there. If you have any other questions, you can ask. I know Jody's going to open up questions soon, but you can ask them here, or you can send me an email at info@thecubiclechick.com, and I'd be happy to answer them then. Thank you guys so much.
Well, Danielle, thank you so much. I mean, there's definitely a lot of questions coming in, especially with some of the information towards the end about the podcasting. Once again, some folks wanted to know what were the services. You said one was to use SoundCloud for the actual audio piece, but you said that they didn't cost so much, or that that's not cost so much. Are there some other recommendations of where they could do their podcast that you recommend if they wanted to start one?
Yeah, certainly. So this is, I can only say what I have done. I am not a podcast expert, so I want to go on record saying that. How I started,
right now you're their podcast expert, so they're going to take what you have to say for truth.
Okay. Okay, so how I started is I started basically recording on GarageBand. I have a MacBook or an iMac, so that comes with GarageBand, and I bought a mic on Amazon, and let me try to see what the name of it is. I always forget the name of this mic, but it's one of the most popular. It's called a Blue mic, and I just bought that on Amazon, and that's it. So I used GarageBand to record my audio. I went on Fiverr and had someone do my intro and my outro, a professional do my intro and my outro. Went on Fiverr and did that. Got my mic, got on GarageBand, and then I just started writing down the topics and then, podcasting them. And then once I'm done, I upload it to SoundCloud. SoundCloud is free, but there are paid portions of SoundCloud. Like if you want to do, if my show's in a half hour, but if you're doing a longer show or you're doing a show every week, I do one every 2 weeks, then you might run out of storage. So then you have to go to, that's the paid account. But if you're just starting out, what to say, just start off with the one show, get it on SoundCloud, and then you can syndicate it to iTunes. You can syndicate it from SoundCloud. You can use your RSS feed from SoundCloud to then syndicate it to iTunes, to syndicate it to Stitcher, to syndicate it to Google Play. The list goes on, and that's how you do it. And you can do it for relatively free. The cost comes in when you're starting to do more and more of them and you need more storage. That's when you have to start paying.
Correct. So I'll run through that a little bit more slowly because you're the speed demon today. So what she decided to use, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, because I've been taking lots of notes for a long time now, is that you use GarageBand, which you get from just having your Apple computer. So those of you who don't use Apple, I guess that you have something comparable. You have to get some form of mic. She prefers the Blue mic, which I have as well. And then she had someone professionally do her intro and outro, which you need in the beginning and the end of your podcast. And she used Fiverr. And if you guys are not familiar with Fiverr, it's a service that things were, when they first started, was about $5. They all range, and you get different bids to try to do these things. So I say try it out. And then she uploaded it to SoundCloud, and just like LinkedIn, there's a free amount of space, and then as you get more advanced, you'll need to pay to keep your stuff there. And if your podcast begins to grow or becomes popular, you can decide whether or not you want to syndicate it to iTunes. Is that correct?
Well, you can syndicate it to iTunes whether it's big or not. I would suggest.
Oh, we don't know, of course, but I'm saying if someone was not planning to do this continuously, but I'm saying, so it's an option, and it's not something that you have to do, but you might as well, because you just never know what's going to happen in your career and who's going to listen to it. The other question about there's a lot of questions about video. You gave a great example how someone's, video helped them get this great job, and now the person has moved up in their career based on that. But the question is, are there more industries that are video friendly than others? Are some industries expecting me to send in a video instead of a resume or in addition to my resume? And if you can kind of speak to that from the HR side, like who's looking for the video? So if I'm in tech, are they looking for the video? If I'm in fashion, or if I'm just trying to get a marketing job, like where are the videos coming in? Who's looking for those?
Sure. So I would say video would be in the visual type of positions and career niches, if that makes sense. So, fashion, merchandising, marketing, That visual component, photography maybe, producing, things like that, anything visual and creative, I think that video tends to lead well. However, I feel like if you are going the extra mile, no matter what niche or what professional category you're in, if you are doing video and putting that alongside your resume, I think that you're going to get above the pack because you're doing something that not everyone else is doing. So even though other people in your group and in your niche may not be doing it, you should probably do it just as a way to get seen above everybody else who's applying for that position.
Okay. So then the follow-up to that, because these are interesting questions, and just the idea of, so now I have a video, but let's say I am looking for a tech job, and I'm applying to IBM, Facebook, and Google. Is my video the same? Or, for me, the reason why I'm asking this is I would figure that a IBM might want me to be in my suit and, to the nines and more conservative versus my video for Facebook or Google. So like a resume to your video, professional videos, also you need to have more than one,
Yeah, I would say you would do a video for everybody, and this may sound like a lot of hard work, but it's actually not, because the video doesn't have to be really long. But I would say you would do a video addressed to who you're applying for. So if it's Google, hi Google, this is yada yada, and I'm so excited about applying for this position. Like, you want to make it personalized. You don't want to have a video that is just static and across the board that you're sending to everybody. So to those high-level jobs, the one that you really want, that apple on the tree, I would suggest that you do a video in addition to sending in your resume and personalizing it for that. And yes, that would have to be you mentioning them in the video. That would be your dress, the way that you're dressed in the video. If the place is more casual, then of course you would dress that way. If it's more of a corporate job, then you would dress more corporate. So yeah, the video has to be personalized to what you're applying for and to who you're applying to.
Yeah, no, and I do keep a video that's just more, that would kind of reflect, as you said, how important a bio is. So stuff that's not going to particularly change so much that they want to know how many years of experience you have, the colleges, the degrees. More generic when I say kind of if it reflects to a resume, your basic resume that has all of the pertinent information, but clearly if you're applying for a specific job, to spruce it up. But I would say everyone, you should all start to practice using what's in your bio, but making it first person versus third, just to have one on file, just in case someone asks for that. And often, Danielle, on this call, we also have folks that are entrepreneurial, like yourself and myself, where just having something about yourself ready to roll at any given moment, because you could go to speak, is just good to have. So any suggestions for what the length of these videos should be from your experience?
Yeah, so I think 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay.
I think anything shorter than 3 minutes, you may not be able to say everything that you need to get done. And then if it's longer than 5 minutes, people start to, get bored. So I say 3 minutes minimum, 5 minutes maximum for those types of videos.
Okay. And then you did give some great tips as to, and a lot of people don't have them, about bio. So I'm weaving it back to the bio question of, could you repeat what you said should go in there, and then also speak to what kind of length works also for, let's just say, someone who's newer to the workforce versus someone who's a little bit more seasoned?
Yeah. So bios are going to vary in terms of length, and in terms of what it is that it's going into. So for instance, when I present a speaker bio, it's not as long as my regular bio, because a lot of times it's being put in a program or online with other speakers. So that one tends to be shorter than the one that's on my website. But I would say the bio needs to be probably at minimum a paragraph to 2 paragraphs. And then it needs to answer who, what, when, where, and how. And I keep it really simple like that because if you have that in front of you as you're writing it, you're able to answer all of those questions. So it should answer who you are, what it is that you do, when, meaning when, when have you done these things, where have you done these things, how have you done these things, and you can also answer why. Why are you passionate about, PR? Why are you passionate about, what it is that you do? So all those things should be in your bio.
So, okay, I think that's really, unfortunately, I think people focus a lot more on, in the career space, professional space, on their resume and some of their profiles. And some of you guys, as Danielle was saying, you can hire someone to do it, but you can, if your LinkedIn profile is fairly good and up to date, you can use that also as a starting point. Would you agree, Danielle, or?
Yeah, LinkedIn, because most people, of course, LinkedIn is a professional networking site as opposed to Twitter and Facebook. So, yeah, LinkedIn would be a great place. I have to go to LinkedIn sometimes to remember what it is I've done because I know it's listed on there and it may not be listed anywhere else. So that is a great start on LinkedIn to kind of start building your bio. And your bio is going to, it's not a static document. It's going to change. As it might even change monthly because if you have a big speaking gig that you landed or you landed a really big project, then that needs to be in the bio. So always keep in mind that when I said updating your social media profiles, you also need to update your bio too as things change and as you get more experience as well.
Okay, so those questions are coming in as they normally do as the Q&A begins. They start firing away. So now you gave the HR and your HR go-tos. You talked about where to clean up your profile, what to go first, where HR folks are going, and you said Facebook, LinkedIn, then Twitter, then Google search, YouTube, and Instagram. And I guess what some of our audience today is kind of struggling with, and I wouldn't call it a struggle, but the challenge is, most people use Facebook personally for family and friends, and are concerned that a family member or friend might put up that not so nice picture or make a comment, not so much that you want to get rid of your mom or your cousin or your uncle on your Facebook page, but how do you control some of those, do you just then make it fully private and make LinkedIn the only real professional, or they're trying to figure out how to best manage these different platforms and where maybe not to make it public. So what are your suggestions?
Sure. Yeah. So I know when I was in HR and people's Facebook profiles were totally private, like I couldn't see any activity, that was a red flag for me. That's me personally, and that's also me, other people. I belong to the Society of Human Resource Management, and most of us agree that we want to see some activity on their Facebook. So I'm against making it private, but I am for you making lists for who can see what. So on Facebook, you can go into your settings and you could say, okay, I want my friends and my family to see XYZ. And then you can go in and say, so let me give you a better example. Let's just say I just took a picture. You just took a picture at a party, and you don't want everybody to see that. You only want your friends to see that. You make lists, and you have to do this first. You have to set up your categories in your list first. So when you take that picture, when it says public, there's a drop-down menu. You hit the drop-down menu, and you put friends and family only, and then that's what you select. And so only your friends and family will see that picture. No one else will see that. So if someone comes to your profile, if they're not your friend and family, they're not going to see that. So make lists so your profile is still open, but that only certain people are seeing certain things. You're programming it. You're like a program director. You're programming and monitoring who sees what content on your Facebook page.
Yeah, no, so you're making almost like dividers and sections where you have more control. It does mean that you will have to spend a little bit more time working on your profile and making sure everyone's getting what they need. So just make sure you're monitoring it correctly.
Sure.
And then in terms of, you use most slash all of the different various social media platforms. Some of our audience is interested in understanding what other systems, applications, etc. do you use to broadcast across the multiple social media streams? For like, so Hootsuite, or like what do you use to make sure that one's not being used more than another, or if you're emphasizing something, do they all have a different voice, and how do you manage that?
Sure. Well, I'm gonna be honest on that too, because I got to keep it real. I have a wonderful social media manager, and she pretty much handles my Twitter and my Facebook. So she syndicates. So she uses a tool to syndicate and broadcast on my Facebook and Twitter. Me personally, I have used Hootsuite. I use Hootsuite Pro, so that's the paid version.
Yeah.
To get a little bit more control on that. So Hootsuite Pro is a great system to utilize to post on many platforms. And there's several others. There's still it's Hootsuite. There's Twitter feed. There's a lot of them out there. I don't know exactly which one my social media manager uses. I can maybe find that out and tweet it later. But what I will say is that it's not good to just syndicate the same thing across every platform the same way. So, for instance, when we put something on Twitter, well, first of all, Twitter is only 140 characters, so you kind of got to, curtail it to Twitter. But it's not posted the same way that it is on Facebook. It's posted a little differently on Facebook. And then it's posted a little differently on LinkedIn. And then it's posted a little differently on Google+. I'm a huge Google+ user, so it's posted a little differently. We don't just put one scheduled post and it goes across the board the same way. Because my particular audience is different on each platform. On LinkedIn, it's a little bit more professional because that is a professional network. On Twitter, you have to be really sharp and concise and get right to the point because you don't have a lot of characters. On Facebook, it's more conversational. I ask more questions. There'll be a question usually, not just the status. So it's based on the platform. So it's being used differently. So I really don't like, let's say for instance, on Facebook you can do, if you have Facebook pages, you can utilize Facebook pages and it'll spit out that same thing on Twitter. I don't have it like that because my Twitter audience has a different update than my Facebook one does. So it has to be personalized for the social network that you're using.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm like you. I do have someone who manages, and to be transparent, too, also manages my social media. I'm across quite a few, and I have quite a few different businesses, so it's hard to do it as one person, but you do have to find, if you are starting to or want someone to do that for you, you do need to find the right person who has your voice. So, a lot of celebrities have their best friends doing that because they know their friends will know what they would say about their dog or about their career, and won't, keep things under wraps that are not supposed to be public. It's the same thing with your career, that you want to make sure that you use something, and you don't want to spend that much, part of it is managing your time, so time management. So using something like a Hootsuite or a Twitter feed will help you, and even looking into your Google Analytics that are made free to you as long as you're using Google. There's a free spot, as well as there's always the paid areas for everything. But I agree with Danielle that at one point or another, you might want to think about having someone manage it, but maybe not all of it. And you do definitely have a different, I'll call it persona or voice, across the different platforms. So you can talk about fitness, that you're going to the gym on Facebook with a private group of your girlfriends that are all in a private group and complain about it, but you might on LinkedIn talk about the importance of working out and how it helps your career, and then you can talk about fitness in another way by showing a picture on Instagram of you working out that day. You've said the same thing on 3 different platforms, but in a very different visual versus vocal versus another way. So think about that in terms of the platforms you're on to try to use. This is a really good question, and it's come from a few folks before. It's the idea that people start, when people want to apply for jobs that are outside of the industry they're in now. So I'm in marketing and I want to go into IT. How do you make that kind of transition across your social media platforms and or utilize or leverage some of your passion and unpaid volunteer work in the area that you're trying to go to? So I might not have been paid to do something, or but how do I shift? How do I make that shift across social media so people see me in the new space, so I can shift into a new career? Because we have a lot of folks that are kind of mid-career or started one place and now want to go to another. So what's your suggestion on which platform A would you use, or which platforms, and then how would you suggest they do it?
That's a really good question, actually. And as someone who's shifted from, HR to being a personal brand, I can kind of attest to it personally as well. I would say, as far as the social network, I would say that you want to probably, on everyone that you're on right now, you want to start to create that shift. I don't think it has to be limited to any, or there's specific ones. You should start kind of pivoting towards that new genre that you want to be in, that new career that you want to be in. And I would say that you could do that 2 ways. You could do that with your bio. So in your bio on Facebook or on your bio on Twitter, you could say a former PR professional who's now interested in the wonderful world of fashion. I don't know. I'm just making that up as an example of a person, who's going from. So you can actually share that. That's exciting. People, that's engaging. Like, wow, she was in this and now she wants to do that. So you can mention that in your bios. But visually, you can really start to show it in photographs. So, if you are volunteering and you are doing these things to get your feet wet in this new career, have photos of you doing it. Talk about I'm going to my first fashion show, because now you're merging into fashion. This is my first fashion show. I'm really excited because, this is a career that I want to start being in. Start sharing fashion links and articles and best practices from other writers. Because people will see that, like, wow, she's starting to share more fashion. I'm starting to see, that she's really serious about this fashion thing. So it's all about curating that new passion that you're passionate about, but also showing you doing it too, and showing you learning. Like, wow, I didn't know that that such and such designer designed Michelle Obama's dress. That's just an example. Like, show your growth in the area. And you can easily do that, like I said, with bios, with pictures, with status updates, attending events that are niche specific to that new career, and live tweeting that event, live tweeting, that event that you're attending, going to conferences and tweeting the gems that are being shared. Just totally immerse yourself in it and then share that, because you're being organic. It's not fake, because this is a passion. This is something that you're doing, but you're still sharing that you're new to it. And people like seeing that. Like, they like seeing that behind the scenes, quote unquote, aspect of yourself. And that will resonate with people, and that will resonate with fashion. Like, wow, here's a newbie. And people, especially HR people, we kind of like newbies in a way. We like people that are seasoned but maybe have shifted mid-career, because you're not molded yet. You're not tainted yet. You're not over it yet. You're new, you're excited, you're passionate. That's when we like to get you. So it's also a good thing to kind of shift and go to a new career, because you're quote-unquote moldable. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm just saying you haven't been trained negatively yet. So it's a good thing. So, yeah, just start sharing on all your social networks and let people see that this is your passion.
Well, you've answered, I'd say, 90% of our questions today. The last question that I would like to have answered, and I think it kind of goes back to what people used to ask in the beginning about LinkedIn, is between your About Me type of options and videos, people are concerned, do you think that they might be able to use them in a discriminatory way? Like, so now someone's seen the video, just like before, people weren't always going to put up their photo on their Facebook page or wherever. Do you think that people will use them in a discriminatory way as you're trying to get a job?
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think that that's ever not going to be a problem, to be honest. Like, there's always going to be that gatekeeper that's got a problem with women or with men or with Latinos or what. Like, there's always going to be that. But that's not the person that you want to get a job from anyway, so I say don't focus on that. Just, people buy from who they know, like, and trust. People give jobs to who they know, like, and trust. So you have to be known, so you got to share yourself. You can't be afraid to put your photo out there. You can't be afraid to put your video out there. That's how you get liked, and that's how you get trusted. So don't concentrate on the discriminatory aspect of it, because there's always going to be those people out there, but focus on you landing that best position that best fits you. And that's by being you and showing you and being authentic and true to your voice and to your passion and to your profession. So I'm not one of those people. I've never have all through my career, like, okay, I'm not going to, do a video because I don't want them to know I'm black, or I'm not going to do this because because I don't want the job from that person anyway. That doesn't, I want the job for the person that's going to hire me for me. So I'm going to just be me. And my advice to the audience is to be themselves, and the chips will fall where they're supposed to, and you'll be a success.
Yeah, the right people will see you, right? I mean, I'm with that.
Yep.
So I just want to thank you profusely on behalf of the National Urban League and the Urban Leagues Job Network and myself for joining us today. Great information. We would love for you to all who are listening today still stay in contact with Danielle or myself if you have some more questions. Obviously, we would love anyone who hasn't done so to upload their resume into our Urban Leagues Job Network, because those folks are looking for you in our jobs. And we will continue our journey for the spring on next week, May 4th, with Ariel Ellis on building your brand in a networked world. So the questions she wants to know, and you should think about, have you Googled yourself lately? So you might want to do that before next week. Take a deeper look into how your brand and how you translate that brand from your social network and personalities that we talked about today with Danielle into who you are, and really learn from Ariel how you really brand yourself and how to sell yourself on your professional skills, talents, and sometimes things that are not seen on a resume or a profile, as Danielle also brought up today. So these are those soft skills and the things that will help you differentiate yourself. And like today, Ariel Ellis will definitely make sure that what we learned today we take to that next level, and that you will circle back with both of them when you are done. And if you ever have any questions, both are authors. I hope you guys might take a look also at Danielle's book, Personal, Professional, and Positive, The 30-Day Challenge. And Ariel Ellis has a book out on millennials, and she'll talk about that next week. So once again, Danielle, thank you so much for joining us. Safe travels. And I hope that everyone here knows you, trusts you, and likes you, because those are the three things that hopefully one day we can figure out how to hire each other. So have a great rest of your afternoon. Thank you for joining us, and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.